My name's Gordon from Drayson Design.
And I'm Taylor from The Creative Tinker.
And welcome to This Week with Taylor and Gordon, a weekly podcast and vidcast where we talk about things that have been affecting our businesses over the last 7 days. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been a busy week as always, a very strange week for weather. It's been very, very hot. We've had a few sort of rain spots and we've had thunderstorm. It's been all very different and very difficult to sleep. I don't know about you, but I find it very difficult to sleep in the heat. Do you have trouble with heat? No, you're okay.
I'm okay. I just have the window open normally.
Right, and that's good enough for you, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I quite like an airflow coming through that keeps me cool. Anyway, enough about sleeping patterns. Any news, first of all?
Not for me.
You've got a new version of WP Extended that's been put out recently, haven't you?
Yeah.
Lots of updates happening there. So if you are with WP Extended, then make sure you've got the latest version on all your sites. If you aren't yet a customer of WP Extended, go and check it out, wpextended.io. Lots of things happening there. Let's get straight into our topics. Who wants to go first?
You can go first this week.
I'll go first. Okay. So, it's been a very busy week for me on several levels. We've got a soft water device that gives us soft water basically, but you need to put salt blocks into it. And so one of the things I had to do was to go into the garage and make a bit of space. And recently we had a mouse in there that decided to eat lots of my sweets that I have for children's parties, and there are just Frutella wrappers everywhere. And this space where I was going to put this block salt was no exception. So I basically had to clear everything out, clean it all up, and then put everything back in again, and then put the 60 bags, which are 8 kilograms each, back in there, or not back in there, find the space for them, put them up so that they're all safe. And I managed to do that on the hottest day possible. Typical, huh? The reason I mentioned this is because there are a few things that I found that I weren't aware were there. I knew I had them, I just wasn't sure they were there. A couple of things I had to throw away because of the mouse, but it's always good to sort of look around and just check those, hard to reach corners and things, just to see if there's something that you have that you have, but you just don't know where it is, because I found that for a couple of things. Anyway, that's not my topic. Just thought I'd mention it because I felt there's going to be other people in a similar situation. We spoke about my photography on this drama club that I went to a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to sort of circle back on it and talk about sort of the experience afterwards. So we set up a website using WooCommerce in the end. We tried several things, didn't we?
Yeah.
But WooCommerce ended up being the best solution, and in fact I think it worked really well for the upgrade that we had as we went along. So the idea is I went along and took photos for 2 days at a weekend of a drama club there's many of them, and they were having a day or 2 days for parents to come and watch them doing their shows. And there were 5 shows in total, and so there were we had a studio set up. We took headshots of all the children. I then took photos during the show, and then I went away, came back the next day, and we did it all over again. So that's 2 days worth of work. I then had 3 half days of work editing the photos. There was about, I think I worked it out, it was about 2,000 photos that I ended up with at the end. That was after the editing. These were then uploaded to the website. Taylor had created a system so that we could batch import them. So that was nice and easy to set them up for print of 5x7s or 10x8s. And they could then make their order. Now, because it was WooCommerce, I looked at the prices that we were charging and thought, you know what, I think we need to offer an incentive. So I set up not a coupon, I'm not sure what you call it, a
deal.
Yeah, it is a deal. It's like a coupon without having to enter a coupon, if you know what I mean. It's automatically applied at the checkout. And the deal that I put in was if you buy 4 photos, you get the cheapest one for free. And if you buy 8 photos, you get the cheapest 2 for free, and so on. Um, and I think that worked really well because there were several orders that I got that were sort of 4, and I'm thinking maybe they would have stopped at 2, but then they thought if we buy one more, we get 2 extra prints,
Mm.
you know. So I think that really worked, and having that deal there is quite nice. I then got about a week or so into the sale of the photos. I had a message from the principal of the drama school, and they said that she was being asked if her customers could purchase digital prints only, as opposed to print prints, so digital copies, I should say. And originally we spoke about this, and we decided that wasn't going to be something we wanted to do, because they had no control over where the photos would end up. But you know, a lot of people can take a print, they can take a picture of it or a scan of it, and they can then do whatever they want with it anyway. So I thought, you know what, I have no problem with it as long as the drama. I keep saying dance. The drama school have no problem with it. Then let's do that. So it meant that I then had to go in and update every single product, 2,000 of them, and give them the option to buy a digital print. I keep saying that, digital copy of a photo instead of a 5x7 or a 10x8. And that actually worked out really, really easy, and took a lot less time than I thought it was going to take, because we basically just re-imported all of our imports, but with an extra column to create a digital option. And then everyone had a digital option when they were purchasing photos. And the digital option turned out to be a really good option because we sold more digital photos than we did prints, which is quite telling, I
Mm.
feel. We did 28 orders in total, 29 orders in total. There was about 60-ish prints that had been ordered, and the rest were digitals. I think everyone liked the deal because a lot of them took the deal up. And for those people who didn't have the option of digital at the beginning, because they had a week when they weren't purchasing digitals, it was just the prints, so that they didn't get upset. I decided that anyone who bought prints would get the digital copies for free as a little bonus, basically. So all the people who'd made an order before, I sent them the digital versions of the photos, which they weren't expecting, which hopefully means that they were happy. And everyone from then on who ordered a print also got the digital version, and then the prints all got sent to the printer in one go, which is great because it means that there's one shipping charge. I can get all the photos back. I can put them all into envelopes, hand them over to the principal, and then she can give them out. Question that I wasn't sure about as I was going into this is, was it going to be worth the effort? Because it was a lot of effort.
It was.
We set up the website, which was something that's now done. So if I do this again, all of that effort has been done. We've already dealt with that. The system is in place and it's been proven to work.
Yeah.
Which is good. I don't know, and maybe I should ask, in fact, what the customers thought of the ordering process. If they found it easy and intuitive, if they found it difficult, if they found they wanted easily enough. I think I'm going to message them and see what they say about that. But that part is all done now, so it would be, not necessary to redo that. The ordering process, again, that's all done. We just need to then re-import things. And, if I were to do this again, I may have to make notes so that I can remind myself what's needed, because it was quite specific, wasn't it?
Mm.
The photography part of it is fine. I know what I'm doing there. The order process and the fulfillment of the orders is a manual process, and we did that on purpose because there were children involved. And by doing it manually, it meant that I could keep track of who was ordering what and just checking the photos to make sure that the photos they've ordered are of the same person or the same family. That was sort of a restriction put in place by the drama club. So that's a manual process. And obviously, the more orders there are, the more manual processes need to be done. But also, the more profit is being made. So it took me in total what did I say? 3.5 days plus 2. So it's 3.5 days worth of work, effectively. I think that's what it was. It might have been 5 days in total. It was between 3.5 and 5 days in total to do the whole lot. And the income from that was okay. It was not quite at the target I'd set myself, but I was really close, within sort of 10% of my target, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Would I do it again? Yes, I think I probably would. And the reason for that is that the system is now in place. And it also gives me a little bit of variety. I got to spend 2 days with a whole group of people who were very creative, who were drama people. They were very interesting. I got to take photos of them, which I enjoyed doing. And I think it's a different week. It was a different weekend for me to going out and doing shows. And I quite like the variety, having something different. If I'd gone out and done shows, yes, I think I'd probably have earned more money than I would have done in the whole of the photography job. But it would have been, same old, same old. And I'm not saying that it gets boring, because it doesn't get boring. Whenever you do performance, it's always different and it's always exciting because you're meeting a new crowd of people, or the same crowd but at a different age, because I do birthday parties for people that I go back and see again and again. And I don't get bored at all, but it is sort of quite a slog to take all your equipment out, go in and do a show, put it all back again, go to the next show, take it all out, put it all back again, come home, and then do the same the next day. It was quite nice to be able to turn up at this venue, set up all my equipment and leave it there for a day, and then come back, do another day, and then pack it all away again at the end. And it was quite nice working with a team of people, because normally I'm on my own. So yes, I think the answer is yes, I would do it again. But I didn't know that going into this. And so I'm really pleased I did it, because I've now got another service that I'm happy to offer people, because I now know that I've got a system in place to do it. And it's because I took the opportunity that presented itself to me and ran with it, that I was able to, know that this is a new service that I can offer. So I'm very pleased that I took that leap of faith, if you like, and I'm reasonably happy with the outcome. I think I'm okay with the outcome. It was around the middle of where I was hoping to be, so that's good. That is pretty much the in-depth analysis of my photography, and I think analyzing new opportunities and systems like this is quite important for all businesses. Looking at opportunities, seeing if you can do something new, trying it and seeing if it actually works, and then making a decision as to whether you want to do it again. That's it. That's all I have to say on that. What would you like to talk about?
So I want to talk about a monthly business review. So something that Kyle from the admin bar does is he reviews his accounts and his business every single month, normally at the end of the month or beginning of the first month. And what he does is he kind of creates a very brief overview of how the month went. So he's shared this before in the Slack, and the admin bar Slack for the barflies, and he kind of goes along the lines of like, whether it was a good month, just overall how he felt it went, in terms of his monthly targets, so how much he wants to bring in for the month, that he's kind of set himself, and also how that compares to his year. So whether he's up on his annual target or whether he's below. It's because obviously you can be up over, on your monthly target, but actually still be behind in your annual. And then just kind of where he's at, how many hours he worked, things like that, how many, whether he felt stressed or whether he felt that he kind of had a productive and a good month, or if there's, some projects that he wanted to finish but didn't get. So he kind of just summarizes his business in the month. And it's really interesting to read for someone that's kind of on the outside. There's no numbers attached to it. It's only ever percentages. Um, but it's just interesting to see that even some people have completely different months based on the time of year and things like that. And when there's a couple of other people that do something similar to that, to what Kyle does in the group, and they also share. And it's interesting to read how the same month can have completely different outcomes based on your circumstances. I have a friend who had a baby a couple of months ago, and he shared a photo of a chart of his income for the on a monthly basis, and you could see that you could pretty much pinpoint when the baby happened, because the amount of money just dropped off because he took time off work, for example. And it's something that I want to start doing for my business. Doing a reconcile of the accounts every single month, but also just analyzing and reviewing my business in general. I think a lot of people do the reconciling of their accounts every month, but they don't actually look at and go, how am I doing in terms of my targets that I've set myself in the business? How you want to define those targets, whether they're monetary, whether am I bringing in the same amount of money for less time, for example? That may be, you may want to be more financially free. And so being able to do more with your time and not earn as much money is what your target is, rather than can you bring in the most amount of money. So it's reviewing the targets that you set. And obviously you then need to set those targets initially for that to be possible. So the first step is obviously for me to go through and think about the targets and the things that I want to review, and then kind of put things in place to, one, can you track it? So if it's stuff like hours, tracking how many hours I'm spending on certain areas. Now being part of a team for kind of building a plugin, it would be useful to track how long I'm spending for my personal business versus the plugin, for example, because I can see how much time I'm spending on those both, and see which is giving me the bigger investment and bring a kind of return on investment, really, where I'm spending the most time, and just being able to look at it from a top level, but also on a more granular level. And it's something that I think everyone should do, because it helps you be able to forecast as well. If you're able to know, okay, well, I didn't bring in as much this month, so next month I need to make sure that I'm on it, and kind of find out why. Why did I bring in less money? Was it because I worked less? Because I went on holiday, for example? Was it because I just wasn't very focused, and I just wasn't really with it and not really doing as much meaningful work? Or maybe because I just hadn't been invoicing. I've had plenty of times where I have draft invoices created in my system, but because I'm so busy, they never get sent out. And so I've missed income because I've just been so busy and I haven't reviewed that. And it's been a couple of months that go by before I notice that. So it's these things that it's good to check in with yourself every month, and then also look at the broader picture. How are you in terms of where you want to be? There's a Twitter account called kind of the progress in a year, and what it is basically like a bar chart, or it's like a progress bar, sorry, and it tells you how far in the year you've gone. So, for example, we are just over halfway through the year, and so it posts a picture every single day, or tweets every single day, saying we are 50% of the way through, we're 51% of the way through the year, and it's quite a scary thing to it's quite a scary account to follow, but also it's quite a good account to follow, because it keeps you updated on actually this is where we're at. Sometimes we don't realize how far or how fast things happen. For me, we're already in July, we're already in August, and it's just gone so quickly.
Yeah, case in point, you thought it was July.
And so, yeah, it's one of those things where things can go by very, very quickly, and you kind of on autopilot, but not actually taking a step back and thinking about how things are going. And so, yeah, just being mindful, really, I think.
One of the things you said, which sort of resonated with me, was seeing how you were doing towards your annual goal. Now, that could be a problem, because if your work is seasonal, if you get lots of work in the winter and very little work in the summer, for example, it's going to be very difficult to know if you are on target unless you've got historical data.
Of course.
So you need to sort of compare it with not only this month versus last month, but this month versus this month last year.
Yeah,
and maybe the year before.
And that's exactly something that Kyle does. He goes, I'm up on last year's, and again, because he has the historical data, he can see the fluctuation of his income over the course of a year in terms of month by month. And again, he can see that. So, when you're reviewing the business at the end of the month, you can go, okay, well, next month, last year was kind of low. So, I need to prepare for that. So either that's something, working harder, or just being mindful that, okay, it may be, I may not bring in as much money this month. And you can plan for that. You can either work harder in the months that
or take a holiday in the months when you're not busy. You don't want to take a holiday in the months when you're really busy. Accountants, for example, historically they've been very busy January, February, because you're getting the accounts ready to put in April, and people leave it to the last minute. So an accountant going on holiday middle of February is sort of dire. It's the worst thing they could do. One of the things I did when I started out, and I didn't keep it going, mainly because systems weren't in place, but as an entertainer, I was tracking week by week on the number of inquiries that I got and the number of bookings I took from that week, and how much those bookings were worth, so that I could see if there were any trends for a particular week in the year. For example, September, when everyone goes back to school, do I then find that I get lots of inquiries coming in at that point because people have just realized that in fact their child's birthday is that month or the month after, and because they've had the whole of the summer holiday, they've not even thought about it. And that is actually the case. That is exactly what happens. I didn't keep it going because at the time what I was doing is I was printing out the spreadsheet that I was creating weekly, and I had a stack of paper this big, and I never really looked through it very often to see what the historical data was. I do keep track of the income that I take from performance on a month by month basis, and I've got a spreadsheet which shows me how it compares to all the historical data I have. I don't do it for Drayson Design, interestingly. Drayson Design sort of is something that the only fluctuation for me is when I lose or I gain a hosting client or domain name client, which is an annual or every 2 years payment. The only fluctuation with that is either losing or gaining, but also doing websites or things like the photography job. And I can very easily see from my database where the fluctuations are, and maybe that'll be an exercise I should do. I should go back through my database and see when payments were due and put them all into a spreadsheet and just see if one month is busier than the other, because with Drayson Design, I basically do the work as I can in around the other performance work that I have. So it's not so much of a I have to do this much this month because I've got the magic, which I know is going to cover bills and things. So that's not so much of an issue. Oh, lots of beeps going on. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about anything today?
Don't think so. It's just something that I think is important to do in all aspects, not just your business, reviewing your house, reviewing are things organized in a way that makes sense. Do you
Do you know where everything is?
do you
Which is
need
what I found in the garage.
do you need to get rid of stuff that's old
I
that
did.
you kind of
I got rid of some things.
kept hold of for longer than you should have?
Mm.
Just things that help you keep on top of it. And it can get overwhelming when you have so many different things to try and juggle and keep track of and review and maintain. But obviously just keeping in mind something that will work. So, people have what we call a spring clean. And that's usually you do that once a year where you kind of deep clean the house, and you do that exactly that. You review everything in your house, and that's kind of a annual kind of task that people do. So it doesn't have to be monthly if it's not something that's super urgent and important. But for the things that are, then it's good to look back. I try and review my weeks, for example, on just how I did generally. I keep accountability to a couple of friends and stuff like that, and so I can see through the week as the week progresses how I get on. I could very easily tell you that as the week goes on I get less work done. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday are the best days for me in terms of work, and that's because I come back from Sunday through to Monday, I go to the gym and I'm kind of on it. I'm ready. I'm to do stuff, whereas on the tail end it's near the end, it's near the weekend. And
And it's the opposite for me because a lot of my shows are at the weekend, so I'm gearing up to make sure they're prepared and everything's ready for them near the end of the week. So it's different for me. I'm a bit quieter at the beginning of the week, although they've come back from my shows and I'm doing admin for that, so it's a bit more laid back for the first couple of days. It's very interesting what you're saying, and I think it boils down to the more data you have, the more information you have, the better the decisions you'll make. That's pretty much what we're
yeah,
saying, isn't it?
use the data that you have to make calculated
Yeah, and if you don't have the
decisions.
data, find a way or a process to be able to get that data. Yeah, more information you have, better your decisions will be.
Cool.
That's it from me.
That's it from me as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you can find us on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe.
You can also go to our website thisweekwith.co.uk to find all of our past episodes.
We also have a group on Facebook, and we post our YouTube video once it's all done and is up. So you can look at it there, but it's going to be a few days later. We're also on all the major podcast platforms. Google Podcast has now closed down, so if you use that and you haven't used it for a couple of weeks, then you will no longer have access. You'll have to find another one. We like Pocket Casts, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's an app rather than a platform, but we're on most of the platforms. Please, subscribe to those, and then you won't miss an episode. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with you next week, 1 p.m. on Friday. Until then, my name is Gordon and I'm from Drayson Design.
And I'm Taylor from the Creative Tinker.
Goodbye.
Bye.